Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC on ESPN 71, Tyra vs. Park, also known as UFC Vegas 108. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com. With me, as usual, is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, for those watching at home, we're coming out a day later than we usually do. We weren't able to record Sunday night, so we're recording this Monday night. As it turns out, that was a fortuitous change of schedule as the main event changed in the 18 hours since we last texted each other. How you doing? And thank you very much for keeping us on the UFC schedule.
I'm doing good. I got to correct you. It says as usual. It's been a couple of weeks. I missed the entire. I missed the pay-per-view recap, UFC 318 recap, and then also was off the entire week. So I didn't do anything in the Duplessis Whitaker contest. I will say this: it's weird when you do this show for so long and you don't do any preview for an event. You get. I feel so disconnected from the event that I normally do. I don't know how you feel when you miss, but like watching the fights, it's just weird to me.
No, same. It feels strange. Like
like I didn't talk about this show for 3 hours. I didn't do like all this tape study, and it's like you feel like a normal person watching the fights.
And then 6 months from now, when those guys fight again, when I go back and rewatch the fights or watch fights for the first time, I feel like I'm having some weird dream about a fight that didn't really happen. It totally gets me. You know
what happens to me when we do like a preview show. Usually, like we're previewing this one. As soon as this ends, I go into the next card, and it's almost like everything I predicted already happened. And then I'll come Saturday, I'm like, oh yeah, that fight, especially like finance when it's like a pay-per-view, it's a little different because the embeddeds and the press conference and all that kind of remind you of what's coming up. But like this, by the end of the show, I'm already moving on to the next card.
No, I'm totally with you on that.
I will say this, dude. So I was on vacation this week. I was in the mountain area of New Hampshire, beautiful. But I was on the White Mountains, Mount Washington. It's absolutely incredible. You drive up there, you're above the clouds. The highest wind ever recorded by man is on that mountain. It's unbelievable how nice it is. But only one thing could ruin my mood, and it was a text message I got from my dad, and all it said was Hulk Hogan died. As a man who grew up in the 80s, as both of us did, I don't get like sad when celebrities. I mean, obviously, I don't want to see anybody die, but it's part of life, you know.
Sure.
This is one that bothered me. That 8-year-old Keith, that was my idol. When I was a kid, we used to, like, me and my kids, local neighborhood kids, we'd wrestle, and this is before I was doing like amateur wrestling. This was like, we'd wrestle around, and we knew Hulk Hogan and Jake the Snake and Macho Man and stuff. We had like a rule. We'd all pick a character. We'd all pick a guy. We weren't allowed to pick Hulk Hogan because all of us wanted to be Hulk Hogan. When you grew up in the 80s, the question was never who's your favorite wrestler. It's who's your second favorite wrestler.
Yes.
Is it the Macho Man? Is it Ultimate Warrior? Is it whoever?
Yeah.
I felt like a huge chunk of my childhood died. It was sad. I was sad.
I was more conflicted about it than I expected. And if you're somebody that's like younger than me or even younger than Keith, and your idea of Hulk Hogan is the, WCW late 90s Hogan through the like reality TV Hogan up through a few years ago, you're not going to be able to relate to what Keith's talking about. Because if you ask me, from his last 25 years of output, he's a problematic public figure. But if you knew him in the 80s, I mean, yeah, it's in some ways like almost like a celebrity version of your dad dying. It's somebody that was an integral part of your childhood growing up. And, whether you ended up being mad at him or not at the end, it's still, yeah, it kind of hurt to have him gone. I was surprised at how I felt about it. Yeah. Farewell,
Yeah, it's funny. Like, you see these like lists, who's the greatest wrestler ever, and you fill in, Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and List on and on. That's up to debate. Who's the best ever is up to debate. Who's the biggest star ever?
Not even.
It's Hogan, and it's not. Imagine if you grew up in the 90s in how big Stone Cold was. It was bigger. Hulk Hogan made wrestling. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, there would never have been all these other guys.
Completely agreed. All the way through, like, you know, like The Rock and John Cena and the kind of people that are, you know, late 40s, early 50s. But before Hogan, there was never anybody that crossed over into children's Saturday morning cartoons and toys and stuff. Like Ric Flair with his like cocaine in his fur coats, we're not getting on the kids, you know, Saturday morning cartoons. No, Hogan opened things up in a way that every superstar wrestler since should be sending him a Christmas card every year. Yeah. If
you were like me and you were 4 years old, you know, watching wrestling on Saturday morning, watching wrestling, if you are that age, you're, you know, in your 40s, don't message in the comments, oh, my favorite wrestler was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, my favorite wrestler was Greg the Hammer Val, whatever. I don't believe you. Don't waste my time. Your favorite wrestler was Hulk Hogan. Stop lying. It wasn't the Ultimate Warrior. It wasn't Macho Man. It was Hulk Hogan. Shut up. You're lying. You're just trying to be different.
Oh man.
It's like, you know, it's like the people who like claim like their favorite holiday is in summer. Like, yeah, okay, sure it isn't. Like, you're just trying to be different. Like, you have like favorite season, not holiday. Excuse me, your favorite season is in summer. It's like, oh, my favorite season is fall for the so I can see the freaking orange leaves. Like, yeah, right, yeah, I know. That's it. Or, oh, I love winter. Yeah, I'm sure you love freezing your balls off. Like, shut up. Like, unless you're like an extremely avid skier where you're skiing down a mountain every weekend. Like, your favorite holidays summer, swimming, barbecuing, camping. Like, shut up. Like, your favorite is not, oh, I love when the dandelions come up in spring. Like, shut up. No, it's not. It's summer. Just like in the 80s, your favorite wrestler was Hulk Hogan. It's not cool to say that anymore.
All right. For the record, if you're watching this, living where I do, where January and the first 2 weeks of February is the only 6 weeks out of the year I don't have to mow my lawn. There is something to be said for winter on the Gulf Coast, but I do get where Keith is coming from here. Like, and if you're wondering why we're having this 10-minute impromptu elegy to Hulk Hogan and talking about seasons in different parts of the continental U.S., it's because UFC Vegas 108 is not all that great.
Oh my
Lord. The good news is the Tatsuro Taira versus Amir Albazi headliner that lost Amir Albazi 24 hours ago. Hyun-Sung Park is not a bad substitution for what you could find in that division on 7 days notice. It's not bad. You know, Park is a guy that looks like he's probably headed towards a future as a top 10 flyweight very soon if he beats Taira, but as a 10-0 fighter, it might be a little too much too soon, but it's not absolute garbage. The problem is south of that, this card is rough, man.
The funny thing is Josh Van probably called up and tried to get in the fight anyways, even though he's fighting for the title next.
Hey, you know,
there's some guys I like, but there's nobody that I'm like, oh, this guy's a future contender or well, there's maybe one guy, but yeah, I mean, Apex gets a little help because it's the Apex and it's the lowest scoring grade. I mean, this is D+.
Yeah,
and and losing the main event did nothing for my score.
No. And if you remove that main event, it's really 2 episodes of Dana White's Contender Series stapled back to back.
Yeah. That's right.
Like the best thing I can say for it is it's only 11 fights.
Yes.
You know, because if they added 3 more, it would not improve it.
Which is gonna lead to an epic story time with Keith coming up. Hulk Hogan was not the story time with Keith. I'm gonna give you one from New Hampshire coming up.
Outstanding. Outside of the main event, what matchup or which individual fighter are you looking forward to most?
I'll go with Brener versus Ribovics. I think that's a pretty fun fight.
Yeah, I don't
Silva Vallejos is a good one too.
Yes, that's a very good one. I am excited for Rinya Nakamura. I've not jumped ship on him entirely. Like,
I mean,
and the Nathan Fletcher matchup is not bad. So yeah, there's some individually decent stuff on here, but I have no idea who's closest to a title shot off of a win on this card outside of the main event. Like, I seriously have no idea. It's probably one of the women's bantamweights.
yeah, I want to save some time for everyone to begin the show. If you're that people like, oh, just talk about the fights, you might just want to click off this one. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of banter in this one.
Strawweights take the cage at UFC Vegas 108 as Ketlen Souza faces off against Piera Rodriguez. Souza, the 30-year-old Brazilian, is 15-5 overall. She's 2-2 since joining the UFC as the outgoing Invicta flyweight champ. She's 2-2 in the UFC, 2-1 at strawweight. She debuted in the UFC at flyweight, lost to Karol Silva, dropped to 115 pounds, and since then, again, 2-1. Coming off a loss in her last outing. She fought back in February at UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Rodriguez, where she dropped a split decision to Angela Hill. So she'll be looking to bounce back from that against Rodriguez. 32-year-old Venezuelan is 10-2 overall, 3-2 since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. She's coming in off a win. She fought most recently at UFC on ESPN Covington versus Buckley last December, where she won a unanimous decision over Josephine Lindgren Knudsen. Odds on this one favor Rodriguez pretty heavily, actually. She's minus 190, Souza plus 160 as your underdog. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised at the line on this one. Not because I think Souza's better than Rodriguez, but I don't see an amount of separation between these two that makes me think that Rodriguez should be a 2-1 favorite. I think they're both going to want to kind of do the same thing. They're both kind of compact, burly women that like to get in close and trade punches in the pocket. I'm glad that Souza moved down to 115. She was way too small for 125. You can't get away with being built like her at 125 unless you are Jessica Andrade. I'm going to go with Rodriguez to take the decision here, but I seriously just don't have a great handle on this one. Just both of these women have looked weirdly flat from time to time, come out and lost fights they should have won. Souza's split decision loss to Angela Hill. I mean, I think you get, when you join the UFC strawweight division, you get 2 fight kits and a split decision loss to Angela Hill. That's like your starter kit. Yeah, I can't wait to hear your breakdown of this one, but give me Rodriguez by decision, but I definitely don't have a ton of confidence in that, and I definitely don't have minus 190 confidence in it.
Yeah, I mean, you said the girls look strangely flat. That's because they're strawweights and they haven't gone the Paige Van Zandt route, so you might have to cut that out. So.
Paige Van Zandt, strangely not flat for a weight class.
No. Yeah, this is an intriguing fight. I'll start with Rodriguez. I am surprised that she's that big of a favorite. She's this stick and move striker. I'd say she's a good striker. Pretty, actually, I say very aggressive on the feet. So she's got good output. She's explosive. She loves to get in the pocket and let her hands go. I see she has some fast hands. She's so tight, short, mean hooks. Though she will load up a little bit on them. She has good power. Though she does try to land the perfect blow instead of just kind of letting it come to her. She prefers to be the one marching forward, forcing her opponent on the back foot instead of the other way around. She will close the distance and grind and clinch. She's good at that. I mean, she beat up Ariane Carnellosi before she got a headbutt, but she beat her up in the clinch. She hit Knudsen with this nice foot sweep inside the clinch. She can wrestle. She got some nice entries from the outside. I like her reactionary single leg takedown. She does kind of get her opponents to when she's pressuring to back her up, and then she'll look to lower level and kind of time the takedowns coming in. She will at distance shoot too far away without a setup, so that's an issue. But if she gets to fight the ground, she's got good control. She does need to improve her takedown defense. I mean, that was a serious issue against Julian Robertson. But she's a submission threat herself. I mean, she cardio is, I mean, she's a bigger woman. She's stronger. She slowed down a bit against Sam Hughes, but in her last fight, it looked much better. So, Ketlen Souza, she's short and stocky for the division. She's a boxer with some good footwork. She tries to move a lot and then land when her opponents chase her and kind of counter, like time them coming in. She's got good output. She has good head movement. She needs it because she hangs her hands really wide out. So like her first line of defense isn't there. So she eats probably too many shots for my liking. When she gets into the range, though, she can let her hands go. She lands some big shots. She hits hard. She likes some teep kicks. She throws some mean calf kicks. When she gets inside, she looks for elbows, which I really like. She can sneak in a takedown, but I wouldn't categorize her as a wrestler. But she's a pretty decent grappler. Good back takes. Bad defensive wrestler. She needs to kind of improve her get-up game. She was taken down to sub quickly by Karini Silva, but she's got good cardio to go hard all 50 minutes. I'm glad that you were kind of on the fence a little bit, because I think this is a tough fight to call because I think they're very similar in their style. They're both pocket boxers with some power. I think both will have their moments. Souza's like being on her back is probably the biggest weakness I see of these two fighters. So that's why it has me leaning towards Rodriguez, but I'm not confident in my pick at all. Like I'll go Rodriguez and I'll go by split decision.
Men's flyweights take the cage next at UFC Vegas 108 as Felipe Bunes faces off against short notice opponent Rafael Estevam. Bunes, the 35-year-old Brazilian, is 14-7 overall. He is 1-1 since joining the UFC as the former LFA flyweight champ. He's coming into this fight off a win. After losing his UFC debut to Josh Van last January, he came back this January at UFC Fight Night Dern versus Ribas and armbarred Jose Johnson in just 2 minutes. He will look to build on that momentum. Had been scheduled to take on Andrey Lima. Lima withdrew from the card just like a week out. So in steps Rafael Estevam, 28-year-old Brazilian, a perfect 13-0 as a pro. A perfect 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He has already fought once this year. He beat Jesus Aguilar by unanimous decision at UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Rodriguez back in February. So looking for his 14th straight win as a pro, third straight in the UFC, comfortably favored to do so, to say the least. I think he might be the biggest favorite on the card, actually. Estevam is minus 500. Bunes plus 375 coming back. Keith, poor Felipe Bunes. Normally when you get a short notice opponent coming in on a week's notice, it's some up-and-comer looking to grab the brass ring, or somebody that's lost 3 straight fights looking for a freebie to try to get one back, knowing the UFC probably won't cut him after doing him a solid. Instead, in comes Rafael Estevam and is just immediately a 5-1 favorite. Let me know what you think about Estevam's upside as a prospect, possible future contender, and then how you think this fight goes.
Yeah, it's funny that you well, it's funny that that guy's that big favorite because I like Bunes. My dog is drinking right now. I don't know can you hear that? How loud it is?
No,
it's like she never drank a sip of water in her life. It's, oh my Lord. It's freaking loud. Anyways, so you always ask me like, what's my most interesting fight, or I forgot about this fight, but insert men's flyweight fight. It's always on top of my list, and this is no different. I'll start with Bunes, and then I'll spend some time on Esteban. But Bunes, I mean, he's athletic. He's got some fast hands. He's accurate. He works by the crisp jab, throws straight shots down the pike. Nice step on his shots. I really like his left hook. He has some good power. He'll throw out some spinning attacks that I'm not crazy about. He's a solid wrestler. He has a BJJ black belt. He's got 9, 10 subs on his record. He had a super slick armbar against Jose Johnson. A big concern, though, is he's gassed out in the past, and obviously flyweight is not the weight class that you can afford to gas out. Esteban, I like what I see. I mean, the guy is definitely a brawler on the feet, throws a lot of hard looping punches. He tries to end the fight with every shot, and he's got some good power. He throws some hard kicks. He's a very good wrestler, good at winning scrambles. If he's on top, hard grind and pound. He's a BJJ black belt. He's got some good back takes. The issue is similar to Bunes. Gas tank has been an issue in the past, and he's missed weight in the past. Probably a guy that is going to be forced to move up to 135 in the future. Might actually be good for him. I'm picking Esteban because I like his wrestling like so much more. However, I think this line should be much closer. I mean, Bunes is good. I think Bunes drops the first 2 rounds, and well, I'm not super confident in Bunes' gas tank. Esteban has gas in the past, and I'm going to say Bunes actually wins the 3rd round, but he can't find the finish. So give me Esteban by decision.
Yeah, I like the breakdown there. I was a little surprised to see what the line was, especially because it is somebody with a difficult weight cut stepping up on short notice. I do wonder if some of it is just down to Bunes being 35 years old in a division where normally performances start to fall off pretty quickly by that age. Maybe people are just assuming he's going to look not great anytime out now, but I agree. He's looked really good so far. The armbar against Jose Johnson was super slick. And even the debut loss to Josh Van, he looked good until kind of the last 90 seconds when Van really started rolling downhill on him. But he won the first round against Van. And yes, especially earlier, Josh Van would sometimes be at risk of being a slow starter. But that first round, it was not just down to Van not throwing enough or kind of hanging out and getting his reads. Like Bunes nailed him with a head kick, hit him with a couple nice punch combinations that had Van, one of the better boxers in the division, kind of backing off and resetting. Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot more competitive and more fun fight than the line would seem to indicate. But I'm with you as far as the general shape of the fight. Give me a fight that starts off with Estevam definitely being in the driver's seat and maybe having to hold on late if he is compromised by the weight cut at all and ends up gassing out worse than Bunes. We head next to the middleweight division at UFC on ESPN 71 as Nick Klein and Andrey Pulyaev are both looking for their first UFC win. Klein, the 29-year-old Wisconsinite, is 6-2 overall, 0-1 since joining the UFC out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his UFC debut back in February, where he got knocked out in the 2nd round by Mansur Abdul-Malik. So he'll be looking to bounce back from that against Pulyaev. 27-year-old Russian is 9-3 overall. He is also 0-1 in the UFC. He also joined out of Season 8 of the Contender Series. He made his UFC debut back in March at UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady, dropping a unanimous decision to Christian Leroy Duncan. Odds on this one are fairly close, but Pulyaev is a moderate -160 favorite. Klein is +130 coming back. I'm not off the charts high on either of these guys as a prospect. It is nice that they're both still in their 20s. They both do have some solid physical tools by the standards of the division, but Klein, at least through this point in his development, strikes me as your kind of classic jack of all trades, master of none type fighter. And Pulyaev has shown flashes of brilliance, but the way he fights, I struggle to see him stringing together enough wins to ever really enter contention at 185. These guys might both just slot in as fun mid-card middleweights for a little while. Middleweight being what it is, either one of them might win 3 straight fights and kind of sneak into the outer reaches of the top 15 for a minute. But beyond that, Pulyaev is an interesting case because he's an Alexander Shlemenko disciple, but where Shlemenko was like this little 5'9", kind of tank of a middleweight with a little bit of a gut. Like Pulyaev is this like 6'4" lanky dude who nonetheless you can tell is an Alexander Shlemenko disciple. Going back and watching his fight with Christian Leroy Duncan is a lot of what kind of puts his cap on his ceiling on for me as a prospect, because he's taking on someone in Duncan that Duncan himself is a big, explosive kickboxer. You look at Duncan's highlight reel, especially in like Cage Warriors, you're, seeing head kicks and flying stuff and just really high octane kickboxing offense. And Duncan and his team kind of looked at the tape on Pulyaev and just came out and had a really good game plan for him. Crowded him, clinched him, hurt him inside, forced Pulyaev to be shooting takedowns within the first 2 minutes of their fight. What should have been at least one of the more straightforward style matchups in the division for Pulyaev instead just kind of turned into a miserable outing for him. It ended up competitive in the end, but I imagine that most of the UFC middleweight division, if they watched that fight, watched it and said, okay, if Chris Duncan can do that, I can do that to Pulyaev. I certainly think Klein can. I'm inclined to give Klein a bit of a mulligan for the loss to Mansour Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik, cautiously speaking, he's a guy with only like 10 fights himself, looks like the real deal just in terms of his skills, his physicality, his youth, his upside. And yeah, Klein ended up getting completely blown out of the water by the second round, but he looked like a guy that belongs. And I think he can actually, I think he can actually beat Pulyaev here. Like everything that Duncan did to Pulyaev in the first round, I think Klein can do. Yeah, give me Klein to crowd Pulyaev, kind of not give him the time, the space to uncork kicks, to uncork anything spinning, to try to stay inside the reach of the taller, lankier guy, shove him to the cage. I think Klein can find takedowns from there. And I think he'll actually probably get the finish down there. So in a bit of an upset, give me Klein by second round submission.
What was the bet line again?
Pulyaev is minus 160, Klein plus 130.
That's stupid. That's stupid. So I'm going to disagree on something. Like you were trying to, talk about, could these guys one day maybe possibly get to top 15? Maybe that's about the ceiling. Dude, I don't see that for either of these guys. I think these guys suck. I think they're both low level guys. Klein, I don't see a very good athlete. I really don't like his striking. Not much offensive striking at all. He avoids strikes by leaning heavy to the side. It's going to get him kneed or kick to that side. He'll throw a lot of teep kicks. He wrestles a lot, and he's got good entries. He's got 3 subs on the record. He got the fight to the ground, and he got a 30-second sub on a contender series, so that's good. Pulyaev, I mean, he's a minus athlete. Southpaw, he's long and lanky, as you mentioned. I like his volume on the feet. He wants to be a technical striker, using good footwork and to kind of keep his distance. But oftentimes he overextends on his shots, was leaving to be countered. He does have a good kicking game. He will look to wrestle, but he's not great at it all. If he gets to fight the ground, he has some ground and pound. But he's, as you mentioned, he's a bad defensive wrestler. He only has 2 subs on his record. And when I've seen him look for submissions, he'll rush it and lose position. I'm not high on either guy. I don't even want to take a winner. I obviously, I think Pulyaev has the advantage on the feet, while Klein has the advantage on the ground. I totally can see what you're saying, and man, I'm really torn. I'm going to say Pulyaev does enough to keep it on the. I probably against my own judgment of what I've seen, but he does enough to keep the fight on the feet. I'm simply in this way because I think it's easier to learn takedown defense against the cage in short notice than it is to improve your striking defense. Not that I think Pulyaev is that good of a striker himself, as characterized. He's not as the UFC booth would make him sound. Give me Pulyaev by decision with zero confidence in that pick.
We stay in the 185-pound division at UFC Vegas 108 as Rodolfo Vieira faces off against Tresean Gore. Vieira, the 35-year-old Brazilian, is 10-3 overall. He's 5-3 in the UFC. He's coming in off of a loss. He fought most recently back in February at UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Rodriguez, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Andrey Petroski. He'll look to get back on track against Gore. 31-year-old South Carolina native is 5-3 as a pro. He's 2-3 since joining the UFC out of season 29 of The Ultimate Fighter. He is also coming in off a loss. He got knocked out in the second round by Marco Tulio at UFC 314 back in April. That snapped a 2-fight win streak for him. He'll try to get another one started up here. He is not favored to do so, as Vieira is a comfortable minus 225 favorite. Gore plus 185 coming back. So all the shine is off Rodolfo Vieira at this point. Now that Bochecha's in the UFC, Vieira isn't even definitely the most decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner to cross over and join the UFC. And
in fairness, he didn't just get dominated by Martin Budai, though.
Dude, that was hideous. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Well, jiu-jitsu is fake. Like, how many times we got to see like jiu-jitsu is fake? It's just come on, guys. How much more evidence we need?
Well, I'll say this much. It definitely does not work by itself in modern MMA. And you can see that even with Vieira, like, because he can still look like $1 million against the right opponent, but against somebody with takedown defense, a gas tank, or both, he just still looks completely out of his depth. He's lost 3 times in the UFC now, and we've seen kind of 3 different approaches to beating Rodolfo Vieira. Anthony Hernandez, just all he did was not die for 6 minutes, and then, I mean, he could have teabagged Vieira by the time he got the finish. Chris Curtis used the takedown defense approach of the best takedown defense is simply not being there. Just used better footwork, and Vieira, I think, was something like 1 for 12 on takedowns, like 0 for his last 11, after the first round. And then Petroski, a guy that had the other approach to takedown defense, which is being as big and strong as Vieira, using an actual sprawl, underhook, stuff like that. So we've seen it all around. It becomes a pretty straightforward question. Can you do that? If you can't, Vieira's probably going to take you down, and he's probably going to slap an arm triangle choke on you and turn your head purple. So, yeah, it's pretty simple, and I think the reason that he's a favorite here like he is, and comfortably so, is I don't have any confidence that Gore can use any of those routes to victory. Even comparing it to Curtis, the one guy that really needed to strike to beat Vieira, Curtis is a boxer with good footwork. Gore is a kickboxer who kicks a lot and has okay footwork. Vieira is still not that great on the feet, still not great at cutting off the cage, but I do think he's going to be able to run down Gore and catch him, take him down. Once he has him taken down, I think he's going to be able to tap him out in pretty short order. If they make it to the end of the first round by whatever means, it's a whole new fight. Again, just look no further than the Anthony Hernandez fight. But I don't think he gets that far. I've got Vieira by first round submission here. And Gore will continue to be one of the more underwhelming prospects in the UFC in the last 5 years. But yeah, Vieira by first round sub for me.
Yeah, this fight. Yeah, I mean, Vieira's a guy who came in with a lot of hype at the UFC. I've completely jumped off that bandwagon. But it's not even just him. It's like, I like to joke and say jiu-jitsu's fake. I mean, obviously, I'm teasing. I know jiu-jitsu is obviously a very good martial art to have for your average American. If you're a blue belt in BJJ, you're going to be able to kill like 95% of humans on Earth. So just those other 5% are in the UFC, and you're not gonna be able to beat those guys if you just have jiu-jitsu. And I don't give a shit what your credentials are. It's just yes. Are they guys who can transition well without being a great wrestler or something like that? And yes, but I think it's rare. No, Vieira obviously, he actually is a pretty good athlete. I think he's a better striker than people think. He lands because people are worried about the takedown. Problem is, I mean, his volume was bad against Andrey Petrowski. He's not getting takedowns. You got to at least land, good strikes on the feet. And I like his straight right. He can hit hard. He does eat too many shots because of his lack of head movement. He can take shots though. He ate some really clean shots from Chris Curtis. Anthony Hernandez landed some big shots on him. I mean, Anthony Hernandez is so underrated, but he's also he's not your traditional BJJ practitioner. Like he can actually wrestle a little bit. Described before like a kind of a Rona type. I like his entries, but he needs to set him up better. And because he understands the concept of entries, he doesn't drive through the hips well. He's not your traditional wrestler, so that's an issue. He doesn't chain wrestle well. Doesn't cut the corner well. He's very physically strong. Though. If he can get a hold you, like you just pick you up and slam you. Obviously, if he gets to the fight to the ground, he's the elite. I mean, he's got amazing ground game credentials for days. One of the greatest grapplers in history. Not a very good defensive wrestler, but there's also not many people willing to try to take him down. And he, you look at his physique, he's a big muscle guy. He's gassed out in the past a little bit. Gore, he is big for the weight class. He's a pretty good athlete. He moves well. I'd say he's a solid striker. Probably a little higher on his overall game than you. He can fight at both stances, fights out of high guard defense. I'd say fairly technical on the feet, accurate, works behind a jab, follows with some good power shots. I'd say has some plus power. Big kicking game, hard body kicks, good calf kicks. I don't know if something he's going to want to do against Vieira is kicks, especially to the body. He can't throw them naked. Problem is his defense issue. He lacks head movement. He took a bunch of damage from Tulio. Doesn't check leg kicks. He isn't a bad wrestler, but he abandoned his wrestling against Tulio. At times, he's shown some good submission skills. Like he has some slick back takes on Tough. He got back-to-back standing guillotine wins. But I almost have to worry about his chin. He's taking some damage. I mean, he was like Tulio landed a lot of shots on him. Cody Brener knocked him out. I'm not high on either at this point, but I'm with you. I'm still taking Vieira. I think he can land the hardest shots on the feet, maybe get a takedown or two, grind on top. I'm going to say Gore makes it a little bit longer. I'm going to say it's pretty ugly, but Vieira eventually locks in a submission. Give me Vieira by second round submission.
Next up at UFC Vegas 108, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the top prelim is a men's bantamweight matchup between Rinya Nakamura and Nathan Fletcher. Nakamura, the 30-year-old from Japan, is 9-1 overall. He's 3-1 in the UFC. He is coming in off a loss after winning his first 3 fights out of the Road to UFC series. He ran into Muin Gafarov back in January at UFC 311 and lost a unanimous decision. So he will be looking to bounce back from his first career loss, and standing in his way will be Fletcher. 27-year-old from England is 9-2 overall. He is 1-1 since joining the UFC as a former bantamweight title challenger in Cage Warriors. He is also coming in off a loss. He fought most recently back in March at the UFC Edwards versus Brady, the London card, where he dropped a split decision to Kalen Loughran. He'll be looking to bounce back from that one. He is not favored to do so, as Nakamura is one of the biggest favorites on the card. He's coming in around minus 400, Fletcher plus 300 as your underdog. Keith, Rinya Nakamura, UFC, I guess still call him a prospect, even though he's 30, former U23 world champ in freestyle wrestling. Are you still buying this guy as a possible future contender at 135? And how do you think it looks on Saturday?
I am buying him as a prospect. But I'm more concerned about himself, having to fight himself, because he has avenues of victory that he doesn't take. So that's something that concerns me. If he could get high fight IQ, put him in, be it like a Micah Chiesa who will put himself in the position to win by knowing his strengths and going to it. Yeah, I mean, the guy's huge for the weight class. He's a really good athlete, southpaw. He will hang his hands low, but he has quick hands. I mean, he's got massive power. If he connects, I mean, he really steps into his shots to knock out his opponent. But he's reckless. He'll throw wild punches. He'll throw up some crazy flying knees. For a guy with elite wrestling, the biggest issue I have is he's fallen in love with his hands. He kind of has this like Yoel Romero type where he's so super explosive, but he has this incredible wrestling pedigree in his back pocket, and he completely abandoned his wrestling against Gafarov. He throws a lot of kicks without a setup because he's super heavy on his front leg. He's open to calf kicks. I don't like how he reacts to getting hit. He kind of overreacts and then starts to throw wildly back. He's trying to all you landed clean on me. Let me try to get one back. And that's how you get knocked out or taken down or, all kinds of things happen when you do that. He can close the distance and work well in the clinch. Obviously, his wrestling, credentials off the charts. U23 World Championship is incredible. Blazing fast entries, gets to fight the ground, great hip control, smother and top game. It's funny because he's so reckless on the feet. When he's on top, he's kind of the opposite. He's very controlled and slows things down, which is good. But I think he should balance it a little bit. When he gets the guys to the ground, look to do some more damage on top. And he's not a submission threat at all. Now, Nathan Fletcher, southpaw on the street, is a basic striker, marches forward, throws some basic 1-2 combinations. He wants to wrestle. He loves to throw like this big haymaker and then follow it into like a snatch single. He also likes some body lock takedowns. The problem is he likes to wrestle. He's not a great wrestler. I'd say he's more of like a scrambler or a funk style kind of guy where he create a scramble and try to win it. He did hit some Grambies and peek outs and drags. So he does know how to wrestle. So I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler, but if he can get to fight the ground, he can be pretty good. He advances position on the ground. One concern, he was swept by Ramaska twice, which is a little concerning for a guy who's supposed to be a ground specialist. He has a submission artist, though. He's got 7 subs on his record, and he's got some subs on his back. So, to me, this is simple. If Nakamura stayed with a logical game plan, I think he could be really good. I don't trust him, but I still think this is a horrendous stylistic matchup for Fletcher. Fletcher usually wins by being the better wrestler. In this case, he isn't close to that here. I think Nakamura stuffs some takedown attempts. And then when he gets in his distance, he starts throwing big shots. I think he knocks Fletcher's block off. Give me Nakamura by first round TKO.
Yeah, you kind of hit at the heart of it for me there. Nakamura's fight IQ / game planning is still suspect, but this is a kind of matchup where it's less likely to cost him. If he decides to just get full on strikeritis this fight, it won't cost him in the way it has cost him, in the way it will possibly cost him in future matchups. Because Fletcher's the one who's probably going to be trying to get this to the ground. Looking at Fletcher's loss in his last fight to Kalen Loughran, he's fighting someone that is shorter, stockier, doesn't have great hand speed, and wants to wrestle himself. And if Fletcher had been capable of doing a sprawl and brawl type performance, it would have been that would have been the perfect time to do it against Loughran, and he just couldn't. He spent the first half of the fight mostly unsuccessfully trying to take Loughran down, and then the second half of the fight getting taken down by Loughran. It was ugly. You put it perfectly. His success hinges on him being the better wrestler. He was not, especially against Kalen Loughran, and he's sure as shit not going to be against Rinya Nakamura. So I see no reason to be different than your pick just to be different here. I think Nakamura probably gets Fletcher out of there in the first round as well, but I could see it just as easily coming on the feet. Nakamura actually lining up and landing one of those haymakers he tries. But give me Nakamura by first round TKO as well. Next up, we have a featherweight matchup between Kevin Vallejos and Danny Silva. Vallejos, the 23-year-old Argentinian, is 15-1 overall. He is 1-1 since joining the UFC, 1-0 since joining the UFC as a 2-time veteran of Dana White's Contender Series. He lost on season 7 to Jean Silva, his first and only career loss so far. He came back on season 8, knocked out Cam Teague in the first round. That got him signed to the UFC, where he made his debut this March against Sung Woo Choi and knocked him out in the first round as well. So Vallejos on a pretty impressive streak since that loss on the Contender Series 2 years ago. He will look to keep it going here at the expense of Silva. 28-year-old from Orange County, California, is 10-1 overall. He's 2-0 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of the Contender Series. He has already fought once this year, picked up a split decision over Lucas Almeida back in March at UFC Fight Night, Kopp versus Almabayev. Odds on this one favor Vallejos heavily. He is another of the biggest favorites on the card. He is minus 450, Silva plus 325 coming back. It's hard to get a great read on Silva. He is a big to a problematic extent, featherweight, athletic, good offensive weapons, especially on the feet. But both of his UFC victories so far, they've both been by split decision, and they've both been out of the featherweight division. He missed weight for his first UFC fight, and then back in March in his second, Almeida missed weight. So it's been an odd stretch of fights for Silva. I still think he has good upside in this division. And while Vallejos has looked like $1 million, I'm not sure he should be an almost 5-1 favorite here, man. Like, he's looked dynamite, and having your only career loss come to Jean Silva, I mean, that's not aged badly for him. Silva is more of a tall, lanky, rangy featherweight. Vallejos is a little bit more of a compact one, but I mean, he's explosive. He has a variety of weapons on the feet, fast hands, fast kicks, lots of natural power in everything. Really, outside of the Silva fight, though, he hasn't fought the highest level of competition. I mean, he blew Sung Woo Choi out of the water. I expect him to beat Silva here just because Vallejos has been blowing through everybody. He's the younger guy, as you like to point out. That means that of the two of them, he's the one that's probably more likely to have made big strides since the last time out. And Silva seems to get drawn into fights where he just makes things tougher on himself than they need to be. Like, all the variables kind of point towards Vallejos, but I'd be nervous taking him as an almost 5-1 favorite. Nonetheless, give me Vallejos, and I'm going to say I'll take him by second round TKO. Just, he puts up an impressive work rate. He has a ton of power. Silva is very willing to engage on the feet, and he's hittable. I think Vallejos does find his chin or find his body enough times, puts him down in the second round. But again, this is going to be a wild fight, and up until the end, it probably won't look like one guy should be a 5-1 favorite.
Yeah, this is a fight I'm intrigued by, especially on the upside of Vallejos, and I think Silva's a pretty crafty guy. I mean, I did think he'd lost to Josh Kulabau, but he's a pressure striker. I would say it's like more of a controlled pressure, kind of like an Alex Volkanovski, or one of these guys. His output is really it adds up quickly without you realizing it, because he's not just going berserker. He switches stances a lot. I'd say he's got some pretty tight, clean boxing, quick hands. He draws power, really step into his shots, and I'd say it's like plus power. I mean, he hurt Kulabau. He targets the body. He has some good calf kicks. He dropped Kulabau with a calf kick. Defense is an issue. He pills a lot, which I don't like. He also rolls with punches, and he kind of lacks head movement. It's that very like boxing style, which I really don't think works too well in MMA. He can close the distance and work well in the clinch. He likes upper body clinch takedowns. He will drop down on the hips after pressing his opponent against the cage. He does a lot of slide bys, which is kind of fun to see in MMA. He will sneak in a takedown from distance, but again, like I wouldn't call him a wrestler. He did almost catch Coolbow and a guillotine, which is nice, and he's got good cardio. Vallejos, I mean, you already mentioned him. The guy's only 23 years old. I mean, I like that. Very good offensive boxing. Fights behind a high guard defense. Keeps everything inside tight. Quick hands, accurate. He loves some like these power hooks inside. He loves his overhand right. He hits very hard. I mean, dude's only 23, but he has 11 TKOs. He likes kicks. He throws a lot of kicks. He likes teep kicks. He has some hard calf kicks. Not a wrestler, but he can sneak in some takedowns, and he's got 2 subs on his record. What'd you say the line was?
Vallejos is minus 450, Silva plus 325.
Yeah, that to me is insane. Danny Silva's good. I'm with you. I'm picking Vallejos. He hits very hard. He's only 23. I think it hurts Silva more times than the other way around, and that'll be the distance. I'm gonna say Silva makes it to the decision. Give me Vallejos by decision.
Up next at UFC Vegas 108, welterweights take the cage as Neil Magny faces off against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Magny, the 37-year-old New York native fighting out of Colorado, is 29-13 overall. He's 22-12 since joining the UFC out of season 16 of The Ultimate Fighter. He is coming into this bout on back-to-back losses. He fought most recently last November in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 247, where he got knocked out by Carlos Prates late in the first round. Prior to that, he suffered a first-round knockout loss to Michael Morales. That was all the way back almost a year ago. Believe it or not, despite Magny's record-threatening slate of work in the UFC, despite having spent over a decade fighting pretty much, the best of the best, fight in and fight out, this is the first time in 12 years that he has lost consecutive fights in the UFC. He would very much like to avoid it being his first time ever losing 3 straight. He'll need to get past Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos in order to avoid it. Zaleski dos Santos, 38-year-old Brazilian, is 25-9-1 overall. He's 11-5-1 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently back in March at UFC Fight Night Vettori versus Elizeu, where he got knocked out in the second round by Chidi Njokuani. He needs to bounce back from that. He is favored to do so. Elizeu Capoeira is minus 200, Magny plus 170 coming back. Both of these guys are obviously in the final stage of their career. Magny's 37, Elizeu Capoeira is 38, and I mean, Magny's going to turn 38 in like a week and a half. In fact, good grief, does he turn 38 on the day of? No, he turns 38 the day after the day after the fight. Of the two, Magny's the one who seems to me to have fallen off more. And part of that is probably expectations, because Magny spent so much of his UFC run as kind of an overachiever who would just kind of be able to jump up and take down a more highly touted prospect or contender from time to time. Whereas Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos has been inconsistent since the beginning. He's had some impressive wins and deflating losses the whole time. So maybe it's been easier for him to stay up to that level. But Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, he's not the same madman he was, 8 years ago, but he's still a solid kickboxer, still a little unorthodox. I mean, we're not getting as many wheel kicks out of him anymore. He's slowed down a bit, but I still think he's faster than average for the division, still has good power on everything. His durability is not what it once was, in terms of being able to take damage, in terms of just cardio, being able to keep his pace going for 3 rounds. That's a possible avenue to victory for Magny. Like Magny's durability is not what it once was in terms of being able to take damage, but he's still able to keep a pretty high pace for a 3-round fight. So if Magny can avoid getting hammered with big strikes, if he can do a classic Neil Magny performance where it's high output kickboxing, moving forward on the feet, forcing Dos Santos to do stuff to make it look like he's not losing rounds, and maybe mix in some wrestling, Magny can take this thing. I don't have the faith that he can thread that needle anymore. He just doesn't react to getting hit the way he used to. Some of Magny's most impressive wins have been him taking a shellacking and coming back. The what's his name? The Cuban guy. The Hector Lombard.
Oh,
the Hector Lombard. Like same shape. Like the Hector Lombard fight is the classic one to me. Magny can't do that anymore. If Dos Santos catches Magny with just a brutal right cross or a head kick in the first round, I think Magny goes down and it's over. Because of that, I'm leaning Dos Santos. I'm not saying that's automatically how it happens, but it's just one more avenue to victory he has that he wouldn't have had if he and Magny were fighting 5 or 6 years ago. Magny could shrug off his opponent's best shot a lot of the time back then. Give me Dos Santos to win a decision here and to have him seal up at least one of the rounds he wins just by a huge shot that knocks Magny down and, has him on his heels the whole round. Like, I think that's the wheel that's falling off of Magny's wagon right now is the durability. And I think that's the difference here. Dos Santos by decision, but if he got the stoppage, that wouldn't shock me either.
Yeah, this is oh man, like this would be a really fun fight in their prime. Honestly, they're in the twilight of their career. I mean, you mentioned Mo Magny. Everything he did in the past, he just does a little bit worse now. He used to be a high volume striker, but his output isn't what it was in his prime. Still pretty good though. He still gets stronger as the fight goes along, which is good. His hand speed has declined, and it was never really his biggest strength anyways. You saw him struggle with the speed of like Ian Gary. He's a long and lanky fighter that can pop shot from range. So has a crisp jab. Doesn't really load up too much. Not a lot of tells. I like his kicks and his deep kicks and his calf kicks. His stepping knees is good, especially because of he can get to that pump clinch and step in knee and blast away. He does defensively. He pulls his head straight back. He still stays on the center line. He's open to calf kicks. When opponent is getting into range, though, he's still smart and crafty. He's smart enough to grab and initiate the clinch. I think probably at this point of his career, his best position is to work in the clinch, batter with knees inside. He can hit some slide bys and stuff like that. I mean, hit Danny Rodriguez with a few of them. He has. I'd say he's a pretty good offensive wrestler. He can be relentless to get it down. Problem is he's struggled with so many guys who could wrestle him back. I mean, they've been a while ago, but like Shavkat, obviously, he easily took him down on RDA, Michael Chiesa, Gilbert Burns. Michael Morales smoked him on the ground. You gotta worry about the damage also that he's taken over the years. I mean, the dude's, you said he's about to turn 38, but he's an old 38, and everything could fall apart at times. And honestly, I think he's shown signs of massive decline. I mean, I got to worry if he's shot. And I said all this, and I didn't even mention that he just got starched by Carlos Prates. So obviously the big thing is concerned. Now, Zaleski says he's still a decent athlete. He can fight on both stances. He's a solid boxer, some good snap on his shots, good output. I like his step in knees. He can't overextend at time, making himself a big target. Get a little wild, do that like capoeira background. I am also worried about his durability. He's taken a lot of damage. Now he hasn't, we haven't seen him blasted and knocked out really bad and stuff like that. But I feel like it's coming. He loves to brawl and he gets hit. Now he isn't a wrestler, but he got a lot of takedowns against Ray Brown, and I think he's a little bit better wrestler than he gets credit with. I'm still unsure about his takedown defense. I mean, one fight he looks sharp, another fight he looks poor. I'm still leaning, and I said this last time, towards the poor. But he is an overall a decent grappler. And his gas tank is still pretty good. So, dude, I'm super torn because I see major issues with both of them. If they fought 3 years ago, I'd feel really good about Magny. I'm still gonna go Magny. I probably shouldn't, but I think he can get to range. I think he can, get to his range, work from the outside. As Zaleski steps in, maybe he initiates the clinch. He works. He gets some takedowns. Zero confidence pick, but I'm gonna go with Magny by decision.
The UFC on ESPN 71 main card powers on with a women's bantamweight matchup between Karol Rosa and Nora Cornolle. Rosa, the 30-year-old Brazilian, is 18-7 overall. She is 7-4 in the UFC. After winning her first 4 fights in the promotion, she's alternated losses and wins over the last 3 years or so. She's coming in off a loss. She fought most recently back in January at UFC 311, where she dropped a unanimous decision to Ailin Perez. So if the pattern holds, she is due to get back in the win column. If she does, it'll be against Cornolle. 35-year-old French woman is 9-2 overall. She's 3-1 in the UFC. She's coming in off a win. She fought most recently at UFC 314 in April, where she choked out Haley Cowan in the second round. That allowed her to bounce back from her first UFC loss, which was last September in her second career meeting with Jacqueline Cavalcanti. So Cornolle looking for her second straight win here. She is not favored to get it. Rosa is minus 180. Cornolle plus 150. This fight is not great. And these women are not great. But Rosa is the more disappointing one to me, because when she got to the UFC as like a 23, 24-year-old, not a standout athlete, but kind of a bantamweight Macy Barber, in that she would make up for it just with aggression, a high motor, and just being kind of a big physical bully. I didn't think she looked like a future champ, because the most dominant woman in MMA history was on top of the division at the time. But I thought she looked like a future long-time contender, the kind of woman that would probably end up challenging for titles a couple times just from being around. But she stopped developing, and she's kind of regressed to the mean a little bit. She throws decent volume on the feet, but doesn't have as much power as you would think from a woman her size who looks like she's swinging as hard as she does. She doesn't have great defense on the feet. She's not bad offensively at getting takedowns, especially out of the clinch, but she's a terrible defensive wrestler. It's been a couple of years ago, but she made Sarah McMahon look like an Olympic medalist wrestler, which was a hard thing to do in 2022. That whole fight basically hinged on McMahon. McMahon tried to take her down in the first 45 seconds of each round, got the takedown, and she made Sarah McMahon look amazing. She made Sarah McMahon look amazing, shooting double legs and single legs from way outside like she was 25 years old all over again. It was bananas. And yeah, that was 3 years ago, but Rosa hasn't gotten especially better since. Norma Dumont and Ailin Perez beat her the same way, just by being bigger, stronger, more of a bully, the better wrestler. That all makes me kind of lean towards Cornolle a little bit. This is something I said about Nikita Krylov going into last week's card, and it's something that's starting to stick out to me more and more. Fighters who end up in kind of arrested development as far as skills development and fight IQ go, where they develop to a certain point and then they win or lose just entirely based, it seems, on matchups. To me, they always seem vulnerable to an opponent that knows what they're good at and is smart enough to pursue it. That's Cornolle. She has impressed me, relatively speaking, because she's almost the opposite of Rosa. She was a very late comer to high-level MMA, a very late comer to the UFC, someone who scanned at least as a bit of a specialist and not a great standout athlete, and she's actually looked decent so far. And again, I think it's because she kind of knows what she's good at and fights to her best advantage. Because of that, I favor her to beat Rosa here. If they hang out on the feet, Cornolle's going to win those exchanges. She's taller than Rosa. She has better reach. She's a better out striker. And she has good leg kicks, and we have seen demonstrated that Rosa does not react well to them. This is going to turn into a fight where Cornolle is getting the better of the things on the outside. Rosa's going to try to collapse the pocket. She doesn't have great footwork. She's not great at cutting off the cage. So she's going to do it by probably just putting her head down and running right at Cornolle behind a couple of hooks. That's either going to work, and she's going to get Cornolle up against the cage. I don't think that's a lost cause for Cornolle there. She's been pretty sturdy in the clinch. She's tall. She's strong. She has good knees on the inside. And if Cornolle's footwork is on point, she might just start sidestepping Rosa, circling out, giving her angles, and just really making it ugly on the feet. Rosa's a moderate favorite here, but I think Cornolle wins this, and I think she makes it look pretty, if not easy, pretty straightforward, like she should have been the favorite all along. Give me Cornolle by decision.
Yeah, this fight is not good. You're much higher on Cornolle than I am. And Rosa, I feel a lot of what you said about Rosa. I mean, she's a bad athlete. I mean, she is big for the weight class. She hates being pressured. She's flat-footed. She's not very technical. She does have decent output on the feet. She works behind a jab. She attacks with combos. She can wing overhand rights. She can really telegraph her overhand right because of it. For someone who's big, she doesn't have the best power. She will mix punches and kicks together well. I think the best part of her game is her calf kicks. She beat up Vanessa Mello with calf kicks, Jocelyn Edwards, Betcha Caher with calf kicks. I mean, she kicked Irene Aldana like 1 billion times with front leg. The one thing, I think her offensive skills have declined, as you mentioned. I think her defensive skills has cleaned up a little bit. She used to lack head movement, and she's done much better, not getting hit as much. The clinch is also, obviously you talked about going to the clinch a lot, except when she really beat up Bechketa in the clinch. She's a decent offensive wrestler, but you mentioned not the best defensive wrestler. If she gets the fight together, she has a good top game, but and good ground and pound. But you mentioned she struggled against the ball. Perfect example against the ghost of Sarah McMahon. Easily took her down. Cornolle isn't really much of an athlete. She's a decent kickboxer. I will say her striking has continued to improve a little bit. She's got some power. She's got a mean high kick. She throws it a lot. Her striking defense is bad though. She keeps the chin high. She will close the distance or work in the clinch, and she got some hard knees inside. She likes to wrestle, but she's a bad defensive wrestler herself. I mean, Jocelyn Edwards, who, however you feel about her, she's not Gail Sanderson out there, and she took her down. She did stop some takedowns from Melissa Mullins, which is good, but it's Melissa Mullins. If she gets to fight down to the ground herself, she has some solid ground and pound, and she's a solid BJJ practitioner. I mean, she subbed Haley Cowan. I'm not high on either one. I mean, Rosa has faced a better competition. I will say, I totally see what you're saying about Karol, and you really got me want to take her. I just thinking, like, what is one thing they do good? And I still say Rosa kicks good. I'll say kicks are the difference. Give me Rosa. I'll say Rosa by split decision with zero confidence in my picks. I feel, I don't know about you, but I feel like the show has really dragged down by breaking down this fight. I told you I got a good story. Are you ready for story time, Keith?
I am so ready.
I don't know if the listeners will like the story, but I know you, Ben. You're gonna love the story. So not this past Friday, but the Friday before, I went up to New Hampshire with my family, drove up. We didn't get to leave as early as we wanted to because and this is part of the story. My daughters had an event, and they couldn't leave. We didn't leave till like 1:30, and you don't want to do that going to New Hampshire during summertime because you had a lot of the people going up to the touristy spots. So we got there a lot later. We got there maybe 6 when we should have got there like 3. My wife and kids, maybe 7. It might have been 7. My wife and my two daughters going to the grocery store to get groceries as soon as you get in. My son, it's 10, he's dying to go to the pool. So I'm like, all right, we'll go to the pool. I go to the pool with him. And like we're swimming around the pool and everything. Like they're out grocery shopping. And then my son loves going to the hot tub. Like he's that kid, he'll jump right in. He don't care what much he does. He just loves it. So I go in the hot tub with him and there's a bunch of people in the hot tub. And I love talking to people when I'm on vacation. So I start talking to this. So while I'm sitting there, I noticed this kid, he's like a teenager, and he's like preaching the gospel to like everybody in the hot tub. And I'm like, me, we're both very different religiously, but I'm a Christian. Like I believe in Jesus. And I'm impressed by this kid. Like, even if you don't believe it, I'm impressed that he has that boldness at his age to like share his story. And he's telling, and then me and him start talking to each other a lot. And he's not this like shy kid. He's like talking to me. He's asking me my interests. Like, I'm like, well, I'm like really impressed by this kid. I'm not gonna say his name but that you'll realize when the story comes. So I'm asking about him, about school, and he tells me he's 15 and he's going into his sophomore year. And I notice he's kind of a big kid, but we're in a hot tub, so I don't realize how big he is. And he starts telling me, I said, well, what do you play sports? He tells me he plays football. Come to find out, not only does he play football, he's the number one recruited kid in New England at football for an offensive lineman. He's already got offers to Penn State, Florida State, Syracuse, Boston College, and like a slew of other kids. He gets out of the pool. So he's telling me this. He gets out of the pool. He's like 6'8", 285, blonde hair, blue eyes, like a good-looking kid, but like a big kid, right? The whole time I was saying, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, these guys are Christian, which right away, my daughters go, the reason why we couldn't leave on time is because my two daughters volunteer at the church into a vacation Bible school that week that didn't get out till like 1:00. That's why we had to wait late. And I was sitting there, I'm like, where are my daughters? Get to the pool. Like, this is a dream. This is a dad's dream right now. Like, this kid's going to play in the NFL. I'm like, where's my daughters? Where are my daughters? So long story short, he leaves. He says that them leaving, his family's leaving the next day. So I'm like, oh my God, we missed the opportunity of a lifetime. Like, I'm ready to I'm pimping on my daughters. Like, I'm like, oh man, well, you'd love my daughters. They're like the 15, but I'm not like saying you love my daughters, but I'm like, oh yeah, you like a lot like my daughters. Like, they're both Christians. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a nice kid. So he only lives like an hour from us. So the next day I'm teasing my daughters like about it. Oh, we call him, your NFL boyfriend. I'm teasing them. And my middle daughter says, Dad, and so I kept saying it was destiny. Oh, this was destiny. This is my dad. This is a father's dream. You come home with your boyfriend's gonna play in the NFL. And I'm like, it was destiny. So my middle kid goes, Dad, if it was destiny, we'd meet him again. That's what she says. So we go out on Lake Winnipesaukee. We're on the boats, and if you go there, it's incredibly beautiful. But there's a lot of like incredible houses next to the lakes, and I mean, they're multi-million-dollar houses. And we're on this cruise through the lake, seeing the area. My middle child again is like, oh, wouldn't it be so nice? Could you imagine living there? I'm like, imagine you could have 3 of those houses if you freaking go marry Mr. NFL, right? So I kept calling Mr. NFL. So, anyways. So we get back that night. So this is Saturday. We got there Friday. We get Saturday about the same time. My daughters are at the where our there's a bunch of different hotels. Like they're it's kind of like it's like a resort, and then like this one area is where the pool is. So they're at my wife and my 2 daughters are at the resort, and me and my son go to the pool. So as soon as I walk in, the kid's there again the next day. I go, wait, you're supposed to leave in the morning. He's in the hot tub. I go in the hot tub, start talking to the kid again. He's like, oh yeah, but we decided to stay another day. We're leaving tonight. And we're leaving in 10 minutes. As soon as my parents are doing something, and then we're gonna go. And I'm like, I'm like, where the hell is my daughters? I keep saying, where the hell is my daughters? So finally, both my daughters come to the pool. This pool is packed. It's Saturday. It's like people swimming. It's wonderful weather. There's got to be 20, 25 people. My daughters walk in there. I scream out in the entire place. I scream out, It's destiny. That's all I scream it, man. And then he leaves, and you know. But I figured you like that story. Wait, yeah, and I've been teasing my daughter, my middle daughter, so much because I'm like, oh yeah, and you know, we rented the jet skis. I'm like, dude, you're gonna buy your dad a jet ski for Christmas with your NFL boyfriend, and so I'm making it happen. I'm playing matchmaker with my now, mind you, my oldest daughter had some boy come over to the house for the first time the other day. Some boy, I won't call him a boyfriend. I'll say some boy who likes Lila. Very, very nice, very respectful kid. But yeah, he's like little skin and bones, like 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But I don't even want to hear boyfriend. NFL boy comes around, I'm like, yeah, you ready to get married? Here's my daughter. So there you go. There's I have another really good story from this weekend, but that's story time with Keith.
Outstanding. All right, you ready for Brener versus Ribovics?
I figure I know you'd like that story.
That was amazing. Yeah,
dude, it doesn't do justice when I screamed it I embarrassed my daughter so bad.
That's so good.
When they walked in and I just screamed, it's destiny.
Third from the top at UFC Vegas 108 is a lightweight matchup between Elves Brener and Esteban Ribovics. Brener, the 27-year-old Brazilian, is 16-5 overall. He's 3-2 in the UFC. He is coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. He won his first 3 fights in the octagon, then has dropped back-to-back fights to Mictabek Orolbai and Joel Alvarez. The most recent of those, the Alvarez fight, was last August at UFC on ABC, Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov. He's been on the shelf for almost a full year since then. He's finally stepping back into the cage, looking to snap that losing streak at the expense of Ribovics. 29-year-old Argentinian is 14-2 overall. He's 3-2 since joining the UFC out of season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He lost his last time out. It was a split decision against Nasrat Haqparast back in March at UFC Fight Night, Kopp versus Almabayev. He will look to bounce back from that loss. He is favored to do so. Ribovics is minus 275, Brener plus 200 as your underdog. Keith, 2 lightweights under the age of 30. The incredible class of all-time lightweights that we have been spoiled by over the last 5 or 6 years really is starting to age out. Dustin Poirier is now gone. People like Chandler and Gaethje are clearly treating themselves as if they're down to their last 1, 2, 3 fights. But we know the time's coming. We need some new greats, preferably under the age of 30, to step up. Is either of these guys it? Are both of these guys it? Who wins on Saturday?
This is a really good matchup. Now, are these guys going to be replacing Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira and those Michael Chandler? I'm going to say no, not in a diss of their talent, because I think both of them are pretty talented, and but more of when you think of that weight class. So let me recategorize your question. Like, are they a future top 10, top 5 guys? It's a shark's take in that division. You know what I mean? It's not dissing them. It's the backup, quarterback in, I don't know, Plano, Texas, some serious football era. The backup quarterback is better than the starting quarterback in Rhode Island. Like, that's how I feel with lightweight. This is big Texas. This is Houston. This is Dallas. This is wherever, or Florida, or wherever, wherever they got the athletes that they're in that division. This isn't the shallow. This isn't the women's featherweight division. So to answer that question, I'm going to say no. As far as the talent I see, Rivers, he's a really good athlete, very high level athlete. He can fight at both stances, great output on the feet. He's got some, his striking is really coming along. He's got some tight boxing, not much tells, has a crisp jab. He attacks with combination. He throws hard shots. He can get a little wild at times. But he can crack though. He's got some power. He loves flying knees. I mean, he crushed Terrence McKinney with a high kick. He doesn't wrestle much, and he isn't much of a defensive wrestler, but he's a very good grappler, if that makes sense. So well, I shouldn't say he doesn't wrestle. He's not a successful wrestler much, but if he can get a scramble winning, he's good. He's a bit of a Kimura specialist. He hits them from anywhere. He improved his ability to get off the bottom against Cornolle Kirk in that fight, so that was impressive. Because that's the problem he's done. He's put himself in bad position. He's able to get off the bottom, going chasing a submission, but he's got a cardio to go hard the whole time. Brener, he's really big for the weight class. I like his striking. He fights by a high guard defense. He sets up his punches a lot with feints, attacks with combinations. He switches stance in mid combination to set up his shots. Set up the angles, I should say, which I love. He also loves some flying attacks, so we could see both guys going airborne at times in this fight. He does hit hard. He showed insane toughness against Kutalatse. He ate a bunch of shots and just kept moving forward. He also did it against Orobai. The problem is he gets hurt a lot. He doesn't tuck his chin. He doesn't move side to side. He's making him very hittable. Now he can wrestle. He can close the distance. He likes upper body takedowns. He showed good takedown defense against Tukagov and Kutalatse. If he gets in a scramble, he has a very funky style grappling game where he can win those. He's not a great defensive wrestler. He gives up a lot of takedowns, and he needs to improve his get up game. But if he's on top, he's got good ground and pound. He's a serious submission threat. He's got 11 subs himself. He can get subs off his back. And he also has cardio to go hard all 50 minutes. So this is a fight that I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be a really fun scrap on the feet, and especially if we get some scrambles on the ground. I think the line should be closer. However, I know it feels like a theme to me where I keep saying I think the line should be closer and then taking the favorite. I'm going to give it to Rivers simply because I still think he's the cleaner striker on the feet, which I wouldn't have said a while ago. I also think he has the best chance of catching a submission if he catches a Kimura or something like that. I don't expect him to, so I'll go with Rivers by decision.
Yeah, not for nothing, but Ribovics is 3-2 in the UFC, and I scored both of his losses for him. He lost his UFC debut to Loic Rajabov. I scored that for Ribovics, and so did almost everybody. It's 80% of media scored it for, and he's good. And then against Nasrat Haqparast, I was in the minority there, but still a third of people scored it for Ribovics. So at the very least,
Haqparast is good.
And the Haqparast is good, kind of underrated. And at 29, there's every reason to believe that Ribovics' best days are still ahead of him. You've pointed out that since moving his training to Killcliff, his striking has improved. He's always been a good athlete, but working there with the kind of people they've got in that 155 to 170 range has clearly sharpened him up a lot. If either guy gets the finish in this fight, it's probably Ribovics, I think. Either just you pointed it out really well. Coming off of a blown takedown attempt by either guy and coming out of a scramble with a Kimura, something like that. Or if one guy hits the other hard enough to put him down and put him out with one shot or one flurry, I think it's more likely Ribovics. He's a better striker than Brener at this point and always had better power. I don't think he gets that either, but I think he wins the decision here, and it could definitely be one where one of the rounds, maybe the swing round, is swayed by Ribovics getting a big moment of offense, catching a near submission and keeping Brener in all kinds of trouble for a minute and a half, or knocking him down early in the round and just kind of keeping him on his heels the whole time. But yeah, give me Ribovics here to win the decision just by being the more offensively dynamic, more offensively potent of the two. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC on ESPN 71, a lightweight matchup between Mateusz Rebecki and Chris Duncan. Rebecki, the 32-year-old Pole, is 20-2 overall. He's 4-1 since joining the UFC out of season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He is coming in off a win. He fought most recently back at UFC 308 last October, where he won a split decision over Miktapek Orolbai. That allowed him to bounce back from his first UFC loss, which is against Diego Ferreira a little over a year ago. He will look for his second straight win here at the expense of Duncan. 32-year-old from Scotland is 13-2 overall. He is also 4-1 in the UFC. He also came in through season 6 of the Contender Series. He actually lost on season 5, came back on season 6, and beat Charlie Campbell to get the UFC contract. He is on a 2-fight win streak right now. Since losing to Manuel Torres last February, he has back-to-back submission wins over Balaji Oki and Jordan Vucinic. The most recent of those, the Vucinic fight, was at UFC London back in March. So he's looking for his third straight. He is not favored to get it. Ribovics is minus 200. Duncan plus 170 as your underdog. Keith, speaking only for myself, this, at least right now, is the co-main event, but I think of Brener versus Ribovics as the more intriguing fight, and the fight with probably the higher, it has the higher ceiling and the higher floor. I think if you took these four guys, Brener, Ribovics, Ribovics, and Duncan, the fighter with the least UFC accomplishment out of all of them when it's said and done is probably in this fight, and the fighter with the most accomplishment when it's all said and done is probably in the last fight. So
I agree.
I don't quite get why this is the co-main, but
I think Ribovics is more of a finished product right now, so he might be slightly higher than those guys. Mm-hmm. But I think he's reached his ceiling.
Yeah,
Rivers probably hasn't reached his ceiling yet.
Yeah, and neither, for that matter, has Brener. Probably he's still only 27. Just he has more work to go, I think.
Yeah, he's had some tough luck losses and stuff, but he's fought some really killers. So,
Ribovics, 32 years old. I think you're right that we've probably seen the ceiling. He was almost 30 when he got to the UFC, and ceiling is the operative word because one of his main issues is that he's so short. You know, he's 5'7". He's extremely built. I underestimated him a little bit when he got to the UFC. I still feel that he's not that great an athlete for the division. I mean, he's somebody that looks like a comic book superhero, but he's a better athlete than I thought. Still not. I don't think he's as nimble or fluid even as Duncan that he's fighting, on Saturday, but a better athlete than I thought. Does definitely hit hard. He doesn't have long reach, and he makes it worse by not really throwing strikes as straight as he could. There's a very 2004 WrestleBoxer feel to him. Even if he didn't come through the, U.S. collegiate wrestling talent pipeline, but just the way he strikes just has that feel to me. He can definitely hurt Duncan if he hits him cleanly. And Duncan, despite kind of presenting as a striker by preference, his problem, even going back to the Cage Warriors days, was him being too hittable, having just some bad habits on defense, and offensively, at least, his most effective tools have been on the ground since he's gotten to the UFC. I mean, he's coming in off of back-to-back submission wins, and Oki is one thing, but Vucinic is a guy that's normally well capable of taking care of himself on the ground. I don't like Ribovics as a 2-1 favorite here. There's certainly a possibility that he could just clock Duncan in the first 2 minutes of this fight and either finish it right there or just leave Duncan compromised enough that Duncan never really gets back into the game the whole time. Like, he recovers physically, but just fights terribly the whole rest of the time. Like, he becomes tentative on the feet. He stops trying to go for takedowns, stuff like that. That could happen. But if it doesn't, I actually favor Duncan here. I think while they both have better grappling than I thought they did when they got to the UFC, I think Duncan is the overall better grappler. Give me Duncan to win the decision here. I've picked a couple of upsets on this card, and I can see myself going like 0 for 3 on my upset picks. But give me Duncan by decision. I think unless Ribovics gets a big moment of offense that turns the whole thing on its head in the first round, I think Duncan is just the more versatile fighter, the one who has more ways to win the fight, more places, is going to be the one that's more likely to win 2 rounds out of 3. I'll take Duncan in the moderate upset here.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you go back to like his first appearance in Contender Series, Duncan. If you told me he was going to, when he fought against Borishev, if you told me that he would, fast forward this many years later, that he'd be 4-1 in the UFC, I would have been shocked. But yeah, the guy's been a bit of an overachiever. We like those kind of guys. Ribovics, he's been inconsistent. I mean, he looks sensational against Rosa. He looked great against Orlby. That's a tough matchup. But then he looked terrible against Diego Ferreira. He is a short, compact fighter. He's southpaw, high output on the feet. He likes to press the action, kind of bob and weave style. He gets inside. He throws a lot of hard hooks. Got some nice power. He's got 8 TKOs. He works the body really well. He likes a lot of kicks, especially inside leg kicks. He beat Razorov with leg kicks. He eats a lot of shots for a guy, that's rising the rankings. That's a little concerning. You mentioned it, like underrated ground game. He's a good wrestler, very physically strong. We saw him pick up guys in the past and slam them. Good top control. Likes to move to a better position. He put Razorov, who's not a bad fighter. He put him in a crucifix. Has some super slick back takes. Good ground and pound. He's got 6 subs. I mean, he hit Roosevelt Roberts, one of the slickest armbars I've seen. Cardio has been an issue in the past. I mean, he gassed against Nick Fury. He gassed really bad against Diego Ferreira. So those are some concernings. Duncan, the thing is he's not much of an athlete, but he's a tough dude. He likes to get in the pocket, throw down. He throws some big shots. He has a very stand your ground style, old school style fighting, where you just stand there, slug it out. He got some tight boxing. He's got some nice power. He really steps into the shot. He has 7 TKOs. He mixes punches and kicks together well. He's got a big kicking game, good calf kicks. His defense kind of sucks though for a guy who's 4-1 in the UFC. He lacks head movement. He drops his hands. I'm a little worried about his durability. He's been hurt a bunch. He isn't the best. I think you're higher on his ground than I am. I don't think he's the best offensive wrestler. But he's a weak defense wrestler. But he's a submission artist. Like he can catch submission. He caught a great guillotine against Oki, though he was quickly subbed against Manuel Torres. But Torres is a really good fighter. As far as prediction goes, I'm going to give Ribovics a pass on the Diego Ferreira fight. That one it seems so unlike the rest of the fights. So I think it's a little fluky. We have a really different take on this fight. I've been very impressed with what I've seen with Duncan. Like I don't want to say impressed, but like what's the word? Like I'm happy. What's the word? Like I'm surprised, but pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I just think Ribovics better than him everywhere, and I honestly, dude, we see this really different. I see him better than Ribovics by a large margin. You said that you think the line should be closer. I don't think it's wider enough. I think Ribovics could clock him on the feet, or I think he can take him down and sub him, and I think he's gonna beat him up. He's gonna take him down, land his hard ground and pound. I think Duncan's gonna make a mistake, and I think Ribovics is gonna sub him. I said we see this fight so different. I'll give him my lock of the night. Give me Ribovics my lock of the night.
How does he get it done?
I'm gonna say submission in the second round.
Awesome.
Dude, that's great. Is it
good?
I love that way different. It spices the card. Yeah. Like I felt like we started off really strong, and then the middle got a little dull, and then we kind of like picked up again. Right. When you hit the Karol Rosa portion, you're like, fuck.
You ready for this main event?
Yeah.
With that, we come to the main event of UFC Vegas 108. a men's flyweight matchup between Tatsuro Taira and late notice opponent Hyun-Sung Park. Taira, the 25-year-old from Okinawa, is 16-1 overall. He is 6-1 in the UFC. That's the good news. The bad news is that the lone loss came in his last outing. He faced Brandon Royval in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 244 last October and ended up dropping a split decision. Subjectively, it was pretty much the first time he looked human in at least his UFC run so far. So he's looking to bounce back from that loss, to reclaim his status as, outside of Josh Van, probably the hottest prospect in the division. He had been scheduled to take on Amir Albazi, but Albazi fell out on Monday of fight week, so in on 6 days' notice steps Park. 29-year-old from South Korea is a perfect 10-0 as a professional. He's a perfect 3-0 since joining the UFC out of the Road to UFC in 2023. He's already fought once this year. He tapped out Carlos Hernandez in the first round at UFC Fight Night Burns versus Morales in May. So he steps up. Big step up in terms of competition, big step up in terms of profile and visibility. He certainly has the potential to steal a bunch of momentum, jump the line a little bit at 125 pounds, kind of like Van did earlier this year. He's not favored to do so, but the odds are not outlandish. Taira is minus 250, Park plus 200. And it is worth noting that that's pretty much exactly what the line was when it was Taira versus Albazi, and Albazi being kind of a veteran top 10 contender. So that's an indicator of the respect with which both of these guys are regarded, I suppose, by bettors and by the books. Keith, tell me what you think of this matchup, who gets it done, and kind of what the fight looks like.
Yeah, I'm like, when this main event got changed, in this weird sense, I was actually more excited for the matchup. And I'll give my prediction, and it's going to sound really weird how I'm going to phrase it, but Taira's really good. I mean, he's a really big flyweight. He's a really good athlete. He's going to be a really tough guy to beat, stepping up on short notice and such a big step up in competition. Taira moves really well. I've said it before, he's very fluid and controlled the way he moves. He works well from range due to his length. I used to view him when he first came into the UFC as this pretty one-dimensional guy, but that's not the case anymore. He's a very good striker now. He's good at picking up his opponent's timing. He's got fast hands, nice straight shots on the pike, good uppercuts inside. He's showing off power, and he's still really, I think, would you say he's only 24, maybe 25 now?
Yeah, he's 25.
25, yeah. So he's still, I mean, like, the guy's already had a nice run in the UFC, and he's at the age where he should be just entering the UFC. So he's still a lot of years away from his prime. He's got a really big kicking game. Now, defensively, he still keeps his chin too high for my liking. His threat of takedowns do give him opportunities to land on the feet. He also does well to use his size in the Muay Thai clinch and grind. He's got from distance, fast entries, incredible top game. If he gets you to the ground, he just inches on the ground slowly, advances to a better position, doesn't really rush anything. He's got some super slick back takes. I mean, he had Alex Perez, who's a good grappler himself with great back take. He has a big submission threat. He has 7 subs on his record. He chains subs attempts together well. And if he's taken down, he quickly gets back to his feet. Now, Park, one concern I have is him making weight. The dude is a big guy for the weight class already, and taking the fight on really short notice. I don't know if the travel, how it's working that. I don't know any of the details of what's going on with making weight, but that is a little concerning. Now, when I watch him, he's a pretty well-rounded fighter. He's good on the feet. He presses the action, tight boxing, quick hands, works by a real nice stiff jab. His straight right is really good. He attacks with combinations, has nice power. I love that he works the body. When he finished Shannon Ross with a beautiful body punch, he kicks, but he doesn't really set them up, so that's a little concerning. He also does get hit a lot. That's because he doesn't, he avoids strikes by pulling his head straight back, doesn't bounce off the center line. He also pillars a lot. He's a good wrestler, though. Good grappler, nice back takes. Half of his wins are by submission. So I like Park a lot. In this weird sense, I actually think he's a tougher stylistic matchup for Albazi, actually for Tyra than Albazi was. That said, this is still a massive step up in competition for Park. I mean, going from who was fighting before to Tyra, that's big. Now, I said I think he's a tougher stylistic matchup for Albazi, but that said, and I'm picking Tyra, I think the way Tyra beats him is going to be by a bigger margin than if he did it for Albazi. But Albazi's chance of winning, to me, is smaller, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
I just pictured Albazi trying to take down Tyra over and over again and being unsuccessful and then just get picked apart from range, maybe get taken down himself and struggling to get back up to his feet. While if somebody upsets Tyra, I think Park has a better chance. That says, I don't think it's going to happen. I expect Tyra to let him up from range. I expect him to, at one point, close the distance, get the fight to the ground. I expect him to dominate. I think he's special on the ground. I think he's a lock in a submission in the very first round. So, like I said, I'm giving Park a better chance, but I'm still picking him to not even get out of the first round. Give me Tyra by first round submission.
I like the kind of distinction you made between what Park versus Tyra will look like versus what Albazi versus Tyra might have looked like, because I'm totally with you on that. Albazi's routes to beating Tyra just would have involved probably needing to take him down and control him and stay busy from top position in 3 rounds out of 5. Park's routes to victory might include clocking him with something big in the first round, taking his back in a flash and choking him out before he has a chance to recover. I don't think either of those things is very likely, but yeah, considering the lines are about the same, I think there's probably greater upset potential out of Park. I mean, Tyra almost beat Brandon Royval in a 5-round fight last year. Like, I rewatched that, and it's interesting how your memory of a fight can kind of change just in the story that you're telling yourself in your head just a few months out. Because I watched that fight kind of preparing myself to watch a hype train be derailed, to watch a greater than 2-1 favorite get upset. And what I watched was a 24-year-old kid take a multiple time UFC title challenger to the wire. And the thing is, Royval looked great in that fight. In terms of how it looked, and maybe even by how it ages, that may go down as one of Royval's best performances. Like, he looked incredible against Tyra, and he still won a split decision, 48-47, 48-47, 47-48. If that's how hard that was for Brandon Royval to do, yeah, Amir Albazi would have had some really rough sledding trying to... I don't even know if taking Tyra down would have been, like, safe harbor for him. I would love it if these two guys were fighting on a full camp for each other. The nice thing about this is, because it's a short notice thing, even if Tyra blows Park out of the water, there's every chance they could fight again 3 years from now for higher stakes. I'm with you, though. I think the real big disparity here is Tyra's ground game. He really is something special on the ground, and that's just made it's made it even more dangerous as he's kind of completed his skill set by becoming physically stronger, by getting his striking a little sharper. I just don't think there's going to be many safe places for Park in this fight for however long it goes. I think he's going to have trouble with the kind of speed and accuracy that Tyra seems to be developing on the feet. Even if he's physically bigger than Tyra, which he may be, I think he's going to be surprised by how tricky it is to deal with Tyra as an outfighter on the feet. If it goes to the ground, Park is capable of taking care of himself there, but Tyra is special. Give me Tyra by second round submission, but if it ends up happening in the first round, like you predicted, I won't be shocked at that either. And that is it the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC on ESPN 71, Tyra versus Park, also known as UFC Vegas 108. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our shows, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring you a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional historical asides about pro wrestling greats, future sons-in-law, that we think is pretty unique in this space. Please do like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you a thing. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. Please drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We'd love to hear your take on these fights. If you think we're missing any upset value, let us know. If you think we're out of our heads on any of the upsets we did pick, let us know. Because if you're right and we're wrong, we will give you your flowers on the recap. You just need to come collect them. We will be live on the Sherdog YouTube page, as always, right after the main event. Keith will take the captain's chair. We'll talk about all 11 of these fights, from the headliner on down to the curtain jerker, talking about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Talking about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers, and talking with you. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights. The live chat is open the whole time, so we're taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We'd love for you to join us. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.